The Great Northern Food Bowl. It's been a dream for more than a century. Over the next 6 weeks, the federal government will test the water in a series of public hearings across the top end. One particular scheme is likely to stand out. It's an ambitious plan to use Gulf rivers to create the largest irrigated agricultural project in the nation. But it's already netted more than a few critics, as Pete Lewis reports.
Forget the drizzle, there's always a spirit of optimism about the start of a new voyage, especially if you fish for a living. Crews are primed and their trawlers stocked and fuelled for the trip from Cairns to Corumba in the Gulf of Carpentaria and the banana prawn season that lies ahead.
We were a bit concerned. We didn't really get any significant rainfall till the first week of February, which could be a little bit late, but we're still hoping on a maybe 5,000 tonne season.
How important is that rainfall and the runoff from rivers into the Gulf for what you do?
It's absolutely crucial. No rainfall, no banana prawns.
Back in the 1970s, the northern prawn fishery was overcrowded, with 300 trawlers battling for a share of the spoils. Now there's barely 50. And while the industry's now on an even keel in terms of sustainability and profitability, there's anxiety over plans being developed away from the coast.
Well, when it comes to water diversion or water harvesting, it can have a major impact on us. The banana prawns are completely driven by the wet season cycle, and if there's no rain, we simply don't get any prawns at all.
In Queensland's Gulf country, one company wants approval to create Australia's largest irrigated agriculture scheme, straddled between some of the biggest rivers in the north.
For the last 50 years we've been talking about developing the north, the food bowl of Asia. We've had white papers and green papers. We've found a way of actually doing it. And the great thing about it, it's absolutely sustainable.
Integrated Food and Energy Developments wants to divert more than 500,000 megalitres from the Gilbert River catchment to irrigate crops on a farm 3 times bigger than Australia's most controversial cotton farm, Cubby Station, in Queensland's southwest. Keith DeLacy, once chairman of the Cubby Group, now heads up IFED.
We're only using 10% of the flow. I would say it's a pity with a hungry world and where Australia is at present that so much water is running into the Gulf of Carpentaria, more than is needed for ecological sustainability. We recognise everybody else's needs, the fishermen, other users, everybody in the system. But we believe the way we're doing it, there's enough there for everyone, but this is the way in which you can really get bang for your buck.
IFED is factoring in 65,000 hectares of irrigated crops, mostly sugarcane, fed by 2 large off-river dams, a sugar mill powered by its own byproducts and providing stock feed for cattle, as well as an abattoir.
You've got to have the scale to make this work, the scale so that we can create all of the processing architecture that enables us to grow agriculture in this isolated part of the world.
And while they don't always see eye to eye, the fishing industry and green groups speak as one when it comes to the $2 billion IFED project.
We still think a precautionary approach is needed, and CSIRO say that. They say further work, for instance, is required on fisheries, the needs of the fishing industry in the Gulf of Carpentaria, because the fishing industry relies on freshwater flushing out of these river systems, so you can't suck up too much in dams. And secondly, they also say that far more work is required on the biodiversity aspects of any future development. So we need to be very careful to do further assessments on what the biodiversity protection needs are for species in these fragile northern catchments.
CSIRO actually has been working on that since about 1965, so that's an area we understand well. What we're doing now, right now, is actually a study to look at how specific water extractions out of the Flinders and Gilbert systems are likely to impact on the Gulf fisheries.
For their part, the prawn fishers say they've learned from other parts of Australia where the natural flow's been interrupted.
Well, the best example of onshore activity upsetting our prawn fishery would be in the southwest corner of Joseph Bonaparte Gulf, where they put the Ord River system in that was full of common banana prawns back in the 70s. And since they've put the Ord in and used it for hydroelectric generation, they continuously release water, and now we don't see any of those prawns in that part of the fishery.
Now they fear history may repeat itself and threaten their $100 million a year catch.
There's a massive amount at stake. We've all got our entire work lives invested in this, and we're very proud of the way we've managed our fishery to get that third-party accreditation. There's 52 boats, there's 400 crew that won't have jobs. It would be a real shame if it could have been co-managed to a different outcome.
We've got to go through a comprehensive environmental impact process, a public process. Science will come into play. That will demonstrate that. But we are very confident that the 10% of the total flow that we're asking for is absolutely sustainable.
A final decision on the project, which is yet to secure financial backing for that next stage, could still be a year away.
There needs to be more consultation with the fisheries, because we know our fisheries better than anyone, and we believe that the two can coexist, but we need to be at the table. So they're talking about billions of dollars worth of investment. Once that starts rolling in, it's going to be very difficult to stop.